chime in with any of your questions. Please feel free to, ask any questions. We want this to be an interactive session. We will take questions at the end of each section, as well as we have another 15 minutes dedicated for Q&A at the end of this as well. As I said, we will also have this recording available to you guys. So with that said, let me set the context for what we will be doing today. What are we going to cover today is, this is the agenda for today. So we would start off with what is our new Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services platform? What are the new capabilities? And we will have a quick demo of the user interface and the new features and functionality. Some of you may have played with it, so this could be a good recap. And some of you might be seeing it for the first time, so this could be a good introduction for you guys as well. And the next thing is the most important part of the section, which is the migration of your current ICS and ICRT, the Informatica Cloud Services and Informatica Cloud Real-Time Orgs to IICS. What is going to happen, and how are you guys going to be onboarded onto the new platform? What is the process like? What are the timelines? So we will spend quite a bit of time in that and talk in detail about all that stuff. And then finally, I would like to give a quick demo and a couple of things about what's new and what's changed in the cloud data integration. That's the other part that I would want to share with you guys. And at the end, again, we will take a quick Q&A.
The conference is now being recorded.
Yes. And with that being said, let me hand it off to Dilip for starting off with the overview of the platform.
Hi, Meenakshi.
Hey, Dilip. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey, can you use, I'll use the same slides, so I'll just ask you to move the slides around. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Okay, perfect. So thanks everyone for joining. I think we just have 1 hour here, so we'll breeze through the content here. So just to set up some context in terms of what we are talking about today, as you guys know, customers like you guys have been going through a digital transformation journey. As you go through this journey, you're increasingly landing in a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. What that means is this requires customers like you to explore new integration patterns, and your needs are growing. So to meet these growing needs, we at Informatica reimagined iPaaS, and we created this new cloud platform using cloud-native frameworks from the ground up. We call this new platform Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services. Short form of it is IICS. So IICS will consist of 4 different clouds eventually: Integration Cloud, Data Quality and Governance Cloud, Data Security, and Master Data Management Cloud, all of which powered by a common administrative service, monitoring, and operation insight services. So back in December, we released the first version, which is the data integration part of the Integration Cloud. And from then onwards, we have been releasing various other services within Integration Cloud. So we released application integration as well as the API management recently. And you will see Cloud Integration Hub also coming up later this month. Okay, next slide, please. So for the rest of the presentation, we'll focus on what's new in the cloud data integration aspect of it. Along with it, I'll also talk about what's new from the platform side itself. So the new cloud platform gives you a lot more richer capabilities than before, both for new customers as well as for existing customers. First up is the integrated user experience. And along with it, we also have integrated asset management for all the customers to be able to, so that they can manage their enterprise scale needs. We are offering you projects and folders, which allows you to do team-based development. We are also giving you, the platform also offers APIs to be able to automate your DevOps processes easily. Integrated experience. What we mean by that is with the new platform, you get a consistent look and feel across all the services that are offered on the platform. And along with it, the new user experience is tailored for the various roles. So for IT developers, we have a designer canvas with advanced transformation and debugging tools. For operators and admin, we have a monitoring service that allows you to easily manage your jobs and executions. And for business users, we also have wizards, prepackaged templates and reusable prepackaged content and reusable templates for business users as well. Meenakshi will talk a little bit more about the template-driven development later, but basically, the new platform offers all these capabilities. So just to dig into it a little bit more on the new integrated asset management. So we are offering projects and folders as part of the IICS platform. What it allows you to do is it allows organizations to easily manage their assets using taxonomy suitable for their needs. And along with it comes we also provide proper security controls to be able to manage your assets. So when it comes to taxonomy, you can organize your assets as an example by an ecosystem of your choice, or by team structure, or by the integration pattern, or based on your departmental needs. Right? So these are some examples. And from a security standpoint of view, you can you can grant access at a folder level, at a project level, or at an asset level as well. And we will talk about it a little bit more in the next slide. Next one, please. So within the integrated asset management, first of all, the ability to be able to consistently create new assets. And then once you create these new assets in a consistent way using a paradigm called new dialogue, which I will show you later, then we also give you ability to easily organize all these assets. What I mean by that is you should be easily able to browse and search the assets. Then there is filtering. You can do filtering by projects and asset types, and you will be able to easily look at the properties of the various assets, as well as being able to tag your assets. In addition to projects and folders gives you one dimension of organizing your assets. The tags will give you additional, the tags will allow you to organize your assets with additional dimensions, and this is something that's coming up in April. Along with it, you should be able to easily move around your assets when the need comes. As you scale your, as the project scales, you may want to move around your assets or copy for your versioning purposes and so on and so forth. The export and import capability is another thing that comes as part of the asset management to automate your deployment purposes, to automate your deployment activities, as well as to do any kind of version controlling of your assets. And finally, you'll be able to easily navigate to various other Canvas tools, as well as to be able to launch your executions and to be able to access any global assets across your organization. So the key point here is the new platform offers you a unified interface for all the asset types, for all the services. What I mean by that is the same Explorer is provided for data integration, application integration, and for all the services that are going to that are going to be available in the near future. Okay, next slide. So in this release, as part of the platform, we also expanded the security model to a role-based security model. So the key benefit of this role-based security model is it provides you the protection in terms of the data integrity and privacy, and it also allows the organizations to efficiently manage their assets, as well as to be able to easily collaborate. Okay, that's a key benefit of the role-based security. Next slide. To explain role-based security in simple terms, the easiest way to understand this is with the analogy of driver's license. So the key point here is you simply cannot give a key to your car for a person who doesn't have driver's license. Similarly, you simply cannot grant access to an asset level. You simply cannot grant permissions to a person on an asset without granting that user a proper role, right? Conversely, you also, on the driver's license analogy, a person can have a license and not a key, or similarly, a person can have a key and not a license, right? So in both the cases, it doesn't make sense. So similarly, from a role-based security, in the role-based security model, the user should have both a role as well as the user should be granted appropriate permission so that the user can access the asset. Okay, so with that, I'll jump into the demo and I'll give you guys a little bit about what we have been talking about in the last 5-10 minutes. Okay, any questions so far? All right. Meenakshi, can you see my screen? Oh boy. Okay, there's something going on here. Give me a second,
yes, I can see, but there's something funky happening there.
Hello. What are the roles for the role-based security model? What are the available roles are available?
Yeah, I will talk about the various predefined roles that are available in the system. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, as you saw, I just logged into the new platform. This is the new IICS user interface. And I was talking about role-based experiences and various services that are part of the new cloud platform. So this is the data integration service. And if you look at, in this view, the integration cloud has various services. And as I said earlier, there is these common services like monitor, administrator, and operation insights. So the data integration is really catered for the users, the IT developers who are interested in integration activities. Here you see a new dialog using which you can consistently create any new assets. These are the various tasks that you're familiar with, and this is the mapping things that you're familiar with, Taskflows and components, right? And so the Explorer is the one that is used to manage all your assets that I was talking about earlier. And the home page is essentially a dashboard that gives you a quick overview of where things are. It is basically giving you all the runtime information as well as the projects and assets created, the health of your runtime environment, and the jobs that are currently being executed, and as well as the recent data in your organization in terms of the new assets created or new projects created. You also at the top, you will see the top navigation bar and the vertical navigation bar on the left. This is like a common UI shell that is consistent, that is common across all the services. And at the top, you also see the organization name, and you will see all the notifications, the job notifications, along with, in addition to the deployment notifications, which I'll talk about a little later. And being able to log in, log out from here, and easy access to a lot of helpful information. Okay, on the monitoring side, so you have the ability to manage all your executions, and this is primarily used by the monitor or the operator persona. Okay, and here you can actually see the jobs, filter jobs, and search for your job, understand the state of your executions, successes, failures, and the amounts, and the data that's being processed. On the administrator side, you will see the administrator page is a service where you manage your organizational aspects. So in this case, it is information about your organization and the licenses that you have, and the user management piece, as well as the ability to easily create your runtime environments, connections, and schedules. Okay, as well as the audit logs to be able to understand, to dig into any kind of user activity as well as any kind of asset activity for any auditing purposes. So with that, let me just dig into a little bit more about the user information now that there was a question about user roles. So the key thing here is if you take an example of user, in this case, a user is granted a set of roles, okay? And the user information, and the user is associated with the role, and the user can also be associated with user groups. So back to the roles, as you can see here, there are some predefined roles. You are familiar with the admin role, designer role, as well as the service consumer role. And so if you look at the roles, anything that you see with this icon are the predefined roles. So in this case, these are all the various predefined roles that we packaged along with the platform itself. And you can see for each role, what are the privileges that are granted for that role. This is something that was not there in the past, and now you can clearly see which predefined role has which privileges. Okay? And right here, the other icon that you're seeing, these are the custom roles. This is, again, a new capability that we are offering. So you can create a new role associated to any service. It could be an administrator or data integration or any other service that are available, and being able to grant appropriate privileges for that role. So this is, again, a new feature. So there was a question about what the predefined roles are. Does it answer your question, whoever asked? Okay, it looks like the lines are muted, perhaps that's the reason why no one is speaking up. Okay, so when I talked about, what is the dummy role? Okay, so this is something a custom role that someone has created. This is just a demo org. So I mean, there is no someone just created a dummy role in this organization, and it's basically it can be anything of usernames. It's just a user-defined role, so there is no real meaning for that. It's just a custom role. It is not packaged along with the system, along with the platform. Our existing roles will continue to work in IICS, or do we need to? Yeah. So quick question on that. We have, Anand will touch upon some of the migration aspects. So the only key thing that I want to add here when it comes to the roles and how they are slightly different from the user groups that we had in ICS is that in general, whatever user groups that you had in the past, they will map to a role in IICS environment. So in theory, the roles should just work. The only caveat that I want to add here is with the new security model, we beefed up the security in such a way that a user cannot be, the asset permissions cannot be higher than the asset type privileges. So what I mean by that is, if you look at a user, so in this case, as a user, if this user is granted an admin role, right? Or let's take designer role. And in the designer role, I'm being given all the CRUD privileges for a particular asset type, right? So this should always be the superset when you're granting permissions. So let me jump into permissions later, and I'll explain and I'll circle back in terms of what I mean by the asset permissions cannot be greater than asset type privileges. As long as it's like the same analogy that I talked about, you need to have a license before you give a key to your before you give a key to the car, right, for it to work. So similarly, these are like the licenses. You need to have the license to be able to grant the asset permissions for that user. Okay. Any questions on the admin before I jump back to the data integration aspect of the asset management?
Dilip, I have a question.
One question in the admin.
Technically not really.
One question in the admin. What is the difference between connector and add-on connector?
Yeah. So the add-on connectors are basically the new connectors that we are offering, right, from the that are available that your organization can subscribe to. So this basically lists all the connectors that are available for your organization to license. And connections are those that you're creating to be able to, for your source or target, right? So these are the connections that you're creating.
Okay.
Make sense?
Add-on connector means some third-party connector like Amazon Redshift, Amazon AWS, like that. Okay, and connector is my all user-defined that I created.
That's correct. There was another question from someone?
Yeah, I have a question. So I was just wondering, in terms of the hardware and software requirements for this new platform, has there been any change in that, or do you still need to install that secure agent machine on Windows or Linux environment?
Yes. So, I mean, from the beginning, even before and even now, right, in the new platform, we always give customers a choice in terms of secure agent deployment. Customers can, several customers prefer to have their secure agent installed on-premise behind their firewall because they did not want, because they needed to access the data on the on-premise, right? So for cases like that, you will continue to need to have an on-premise secure agent unless you deploy the secure agent in the cloud and have a VPC connectivity to your on-premise assets, right? So, but if you are purely cloud, if all of your assets are in cloud and all you are doing is cloud-based integration, you can go with the cloud-hosted agent that we offer. So if you look at the runtime environments here, right? So this is the cloud-hosted agent that we offer, and this is something, by the way, that you get that the platform offers to all the customers for their trial purposes. And if you're happy with the cloud-hosted agent and if it meets your needs, you can always go with the cloud-hosted agent option that we provide, wherein we manage, we deploy everything for you, and you don't have to install anything. Does it answer your question?
So it sounds like there hasn't been any change from the previous or the existing version of ICS to the newer version of IICS. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were some improvements. For example, the cloud-hosted agent, we added auto-scaling capability within the agent, but that's kind of seamless to you guys, more transparent for you guys. Otherwise, the core of the secure agent is still the same. There has not been a major a change other than the incremental improvements on the secure agent, like bug fixes and things like that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dilip, this is Srini. I have a question on the runtime environment. So how you are going to assign the runtime environment? You consider you have multiple environments, and when I create a new object, what is given a first preference, or how this is assigned?
I'm not sure I fully understood the question. So if I'm getting your question right, I think you're talking about so it's usually the target, if you're assigning a runtime environment to both source and target, is your question like which one takes the precedence?
Yes. Yeah, right.
So yeah, the answer is target, but I think, if you can elaborate on the exact example, we can probably walk through. And I'm happy to sit down separately if you have more questions around it. We can have a separate meeting if that helps.
Yeah, consider since in this screen, whatever I am saying, you have three environments, three agents are being installed. So if I'm migrating an object from one environment to other environment, how the runtime environment will be assigned? Current ICS take the default first runtime environment.
Got it. So I think I can jump into the details here since you are talking about specifically on the migration or the asset migration, object migration. The equivalent of it is an export-import capability that we added recently. I know I'm kind of going away from the demo script that I have, but since we're talking about it, let me just show you. So today we have the ability to, so first of all, maybe I'll just give you a couple of minutes of intro before I answer your question. So this is the Explorer that we are talking about that is common across all services, okay? First of all, so this data integration, you will see a similar thing if you look at application integration as well. And I go to Explore. So you will see a similar same Explorer here. So that's point number one that I wanted to call out. And within Explorer, I talked about the ability to easily filter and search. So here you can filter by projects or you can filter by assets. And within the assets, you can still go down to a corresponding asset that you care about, right? And while you're here, you can also have the search capability. Let's say I want to search a particular asset with the name as demo. Then the search basically walks through the tree and it searches for both the projects as well as the assets tree. Okay, so how do I create a new project? You create a new project using this new project option here. And once you create it, so for example, this is my project, Dilip demo, and within that I can create a whole bunch of folders. Okay, and for each asset type, there are some actions. You can look at the various properties. I can do a copy move operations. I think for the purpose of time, I'm going to skip some of these demoing things, but let me know if you guys are interested in a particular demo. And the permissions, the asset permissions is where the role-based security comes into play. So here in this case, I'm assigning permissions at a folder level called this extra folder. And here I can specifically add a set of users or a particular group, right? And grant the fine-grained security in terms of only read or read update and whatever these combinations are. But the key thing here is that when you are assigning permissions to a particular user or a particular user group, keep in mind that this user also needs to have the appropriate role. That's the key point to understand in the role-based security. The pyramid that I was showing earlier, this is the asset permission, and the role-based security there was more like a license. You need to have a license before you grant this key. By default, if you don't have anything, by default, you have both the license and the key. But if you are giving a key through this asset permissions, you need to make sure that the corresponding role has those privileges as well. Otherwise, it will not have any effect. Okay. And so those are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. And then on the SDLC / migration, object migration, that has been replaced by an export-import concept, right? Here, so export is where I can use this export. I think in this case I don't have permissions apparently. So if I go to a particular folder, what are my dependable objects? It is outside the current organization. Okay. So let's take an example. Wow. Okay, so this doesn't have anything, I guess. Let's take this one as an example. And when I try to, so basically I should be able to, as a dependable object, which is outside current organization. I think I'll have to look into this, guys. I think this one is using a bundle, most likely, is my guess. Can we have secure agent? Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll skip this part for some reason.
Dilip, I can show this part when I pick up the demo.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So that's the export aspect of it. The equivalent of the import is really once you export the asset or the project, you should be able to correspondingly do an import as well. And this is where someone was asking me earlier. I think I do need to export it to demo. So I think give me one minute, guys. I should be able to do this. So let's say I want to export a particular asset. Okay, so I think Meenakshi, will you be able to show the import as well?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, I think yeah. So I think Meenakshi will cover the export and import part. So I think with that, we talked about most of the capabilities of Explorer. And bundles is the other one that you're already familiar with. So we expanded bundles capability to now include MCTs as well. Earlier we used to support only mappings, and now you can essentially add additional asset types as well. So this is, for those who don't know what bundles are, bundles allow you to be able to create reusable assets within your organization so that you can create a reusable asset, publish it, and your organization can then subscribe to it and others can leverage it. Okay? Any questions so far? So the one question about the imports, someone asked about, okay, how do I map the runtime environment? Meenakshi will demo it, but the idea here is that we have an option in the import wherein you can choose which runtime environment to assign to in the target environment. That's the answer to the question. From a demo purposes, for demo point of view, Meenakshi will give you guys the demo.
Dilip, I have a question. So I think there is a debugger option available. So can you highlight it, like kind of in a high level? Can you describe it?
Yeah, I think Meenakshi was planning to cover that, but just to give you a little bit of an idea. So this is, Meenakshi, do you want to cover that as part of Taskflow, or shall I just talk about it?
Yeah, I will show what it as part of the demo in the cloud data integration. And it would be good if we can have the questions on the WebEx chat so that we will at least have the time to cover the content that we have already planned. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. So I think I'll pause here. I think we are running a little bit late here. I'll hand off to Anand because this migration topic is super important for all of you, for all the existing customers. All the existing customers will move to this new platform. So Anand, do you want to take over from here?
Sure. Just let me get my slides here. Just 1 second. If there's any questions, just answer. I'm just getting ready here. 1 second.
So a couple of questions that I have that I wanted to kind of ask was, does the new platform have a PC workflow-like capability? Yes, I will demo it as part of my session. And your agents will automatically be upgraded. All ICS agents will automatically be upgraded to IICS secure agents. And the question of will the existing parameter or lookup files be still in the existing directories? Yes, there won't be any change to that. It will be like a regular upgrade that you have gone through for the last few years. And another question I have is, there will be some changes to the whitelisting of your IP addresses and the DNS names, and I think Anand will be able to come give you more details on that one as well.
All right, I'm ready. So my name is Anand Peri, Product Manager with Informatica Cloud, and currently I'm responsible for the migration from ICS to IICS platform. So let me just run through a few slides, and then we'll open up for more questions. So for the past 27 releases, most of our customers have been used to the term upgrade, and it was an in-place upgrade. So for the first time, we are using the term migration, and I just want to cover why the migration, right? So before we get into that, I just want to assure you the core of these two platforms, ICS and IICS, remains the same. How would I put it? The peripheral services have been added, but the core DI, data integration service, and app integration service remains the same. So there is really no change in your mappings, DSS, DRS, or your connections or the connectors. They all remain the same. So, and this new platform, IICS, as Dilip was talking about, is going to bring more unified user experience and also basically bring in more products to the Informatica Cloud. So from that perspective, so this platform is a little bit more broad. It's not, in the past, ICS was pretty much a data integration cloud, but in the IICS platform, we'll have a lot more other clouds like data quality, master data management, security, so on and so forth. And the most important change here is also we are moving the data centers. We are moving from Dimension Data Center. It was always hosted in the West Coast, and now we are moving it into the Amazon hosting, and we are going to have multiple geographic locations for load distribution and scalability. So currently we're starting with an East region and a West region with multiple pods there, but in the coming 12 months, we plan to have pods in EMEA and Asia Pac region as well. So what is being migrated? So we are migrating all the active customers from ICS into IICS. So anytime the migration, it's an opportunity for some cleanup. So if we have a lot of orgs in ICS that there's no activity on them. So if you've not logged into an org for more than 6 months or not run a job for more than 6 months or the org has expired, those things will be left behind in ICS. So they're being left behind, they're not being migrated. That means we're not deleting them. They're still there in ICS, but we're not moving them into IICS. Now, for whatever case, if one of those orgs belongs to you and you need it, you can always open a ticket and then ask us, make a request, and then we can basically include that in the migration if it makes sense. So it is both cloud data integration and cloud application integration, ICRT and ICS. So both of these customers will be migrated from ICS into IICS. So there's some key changes in terminology. Some of this already has been covered by Dilip, but roles. So in ICS, we had something called as user groups. Now, user groups are being mapped into roles in IICS. We have projects and folders for asset management. In ICS, you have views. So projects and folders, currently when we do the migration, what happens is that all your assets will go into a default project and a default folder. Everything gets put in one spot, and all your views, all your public views will be created as tags. So there will be a little bit of a reorg on your side to do the asset management, and you can basically either create more folders or you can basically use the tagging capability and then leave them in the default folder. It's up to you how you want to manage that. Then the other one is the migrate object. So we have a concept called migrate object in ICS. Now that becomes the import export. So just keep that in mind from the migration perspective, that these are the key changes. Most importantly, the process of migration is very similar to the upgrade process. That means in the past, for every upgrade, you have received a series of notifications from Informatica Global Support, and the same set of notifications will be coming to you. So three weeks before the pre-release, right? So whenever we basically open up a pre-release for the migration, we will inform you that pre-release is coming 3 weeks out. That way you can plan for it. So on the day of the pre-release, we'll inform you that a pre-release is now up and running and your orgs are available in the pre-release. Please log in here and start testing. In the pre-release, you have to set up your own secure agent for testing. And then halfway through the pre-release, again, we'll kind of connect with you saying, hey, how is the pre-release testing going? If you find any issues, please open tickets, or there is a DL there on which you can ask questions. So it's the process is the same. End of the pre-release, again, we'll notify you saying, hey, pre-release has come to an end, and you will be migrating into prediction on so-and-so date, and it is a very specific hour. And we'll ask for a blackout window. Typically, in an upgrade, we had a 4-hour blackout window. For a migration, what we are looking for is 2 to 4 hours, depending upon the type of batch that we are running and the amount of metadata that we need to migrate. So those will be batch dependent, and your notification will include the exact time. Now, during that blackout time, we expect it to be a quiet window. No job should be running. No one should be logging into the orgs and making any metadata changes. And as part of the production migration, your ICS org will move into our IICS production environment, and also your agents will get upgraded automatically into the IICS. So after the upgrade is or the migration is complete, you should be able to run your jobs without any further intervention in 99% of the cases. There's always some minor caveats, and we'll cover that in the next couple of slides. So the migration is starting. When is the migration starting? So on April 4th, that's 2 days out, our first pre-release environment will be available. And on April 14th, we are launching our Spring 2018. So we're going live with our Spring 2018 on IICS platform. And then what happens is we'll start running the batches on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, depending upon the month-end, quarter-end, and so on and so forth. There are certain dates that are blocked out, but otherwise on a weekly basis, we are running these batches. And this migration will last roughly 4 months. So it's not like an upgrade where we are doing a big bang, like taking a whole pod and doing the upgrade. Here we are doing it batch by batch, and each batch will be notified when their pre-release will start and when they will be migrated into the production environment. And currently, based upon a lot of discussions, what has been agreed upon is the actual migration to production will happen on a Monday morning during the business hours to have the maximum coverage from Informatica support, Informatica R&D, and operations. And also at the same time, the customer also will be available and they'll be able to monitor the migration and react to it. So this is what has been decided. Now we'll be sending out the communications, and if we are always open to hear your feedback on that. Then what is my role in the migration process? We have, in the pre-release, first thing we want you to do is review the FAQ. A very detailed FAQ has been prepared. Roughly 25 plus questions have been answered there, and a lot of KB articles are available just in case if you fall in any of those situations. We also provided a video to highlight what is the difference between ICS and IICS on those key aspects like, projects and folders, import, export, a task flow in ICS is called linear task flow in IICS. So wherever the terminology has changed or the navigation has significantly changed. So it's going to cover the terminology and the navigation. There's a video there. So I would expect everyone to view the video. And please plan to install a secure agent in your pre-release. Your secure agent will not be moved from ICS to IICS during the pre-release. Standard process, you have to install a new secure agent to run your testing. And since the UI has changed significantly, the navigation aspects of it, if you have any documentation that is internal to your user groups, you may have to update that. So please use the pre-release time while you're actually testing it. You also need to take the necessary screenshots and update your internal documents. And if you see any issue, please open a support case. And it's the standard process. Our support is actively looking for the migration-related issues, and we'll be addressing them ASAP. On the production side, the migration window is 2 to 4 hours, and ensure, we already covered this, you should not be running any jobs. It's a quiet period. And you should make a list of, post-migration checks. If there's anything that you have learned in your pre-release, you need to basically make that list and have the owners ready to act upon it. For example, in the FAQ, we'll be covering, some of the he highlights the next, are there any manual steps? We are migrating all your metadata, so there's nothing being left in ICS as such, other than that private views and public views are coming over, but the private views are being left over there, just in case if you need that. We'll discuss that separately. Existing ICS agents will get upgraded to IICS automatically. So basically, everything is coming over. Now, there are few exceptions. For example, since we are moving the data center, the IP addresses will change. So if you are doing a whitelisting, you need to basically whitelist these IP addresses, and that's part of our FAQ. Please start the process. If you're using SAML and SSO, there is a manual step after the migration is done that you will have to activate that in the new environment. So those instructions are also available. If you are using the Salesforce outbound messaging, ICS was generating a REST endpoint URL. Now, as part of this migration, since it is being hosted in a different data center and a different application as such, that REST endpoint URL will change. Now, we understand this is a significant impact. So what we have done is to mitigate the risk here, we have enabled the redirect capability for a month after the migration. So once you migrate over, your old REST API URLs for the Salesforce outbound messages will continue to work for a month. And within that 1 month, we expect you to go update the Salesforce workflows with the new endpoint URLs. Now, REST API domain update. So even if you're using our REST API provided by ICS, the login URL has a domain in it. Now, that domain is changing because, again, the whole data center and the application is different, right? So if you are using that externally, either in a scheduling script or in any other white labeling applications, you will have to update that. But again, we are going to be doing redirection for a certain time period. After that, you will have to update this. So again, all of that is listed in the FAQ. MySQL downloads in the past, in our MySQL connector, it had the drivers included in that, but due to some Oracle license agreements, we cannot ship those drivers. You will have to download that. The drivers are free, but you have to download that. And there are a few other connectors which fall in the same bucket. There's some manual steps after the migration is done, which is very similar to what you would have done even in an upgrade scenario. So please refer to the FAQ, and they will answer most of your questions. If not, or just send an email and we will answer that. All right, so Meenakshi, we can take up all the questions that have been coming up.
Sure. Anand, just a couple of questions. It would be good if you can answer. So what is the default role and folder assigned for all the jobs migrated? So roles, can you take that up?
Roles, I believe, hey Dilip, you want to take the roles? The roles should not change.
Yeah, there won't be any change in the roles, and they will be the same.
The roles will stay the same. In the project and folder, we are creating them as a default project, default folder, and it will go into that.
Yeah, I will show that one. Okay, sure. Thanks, Anand. Let me take the ball now. Okay. So thanks, everyone. So now that you have heard a lot about what is in our new platform and what is coming up, let me just quickly show a couple of things that Dilip and Anand had touched upon. So one thing that Anand had said was, once you are migrated, you go to the Explore page, there will be a default folder, project, and that's where all your assets would be available. And as you can see in here, there is a column called tags. So if you have created any views in your current ICS, like views that you create for DSS or, things like this. So if this is a view, I would have an equivalent tag in the new IICS org, and all the assets that are available in that view would be tagged with this tag. So, and this is an easier way for you to kind of reorg your assets. So you could choose all of these assets and move them, create a new folder and move them to a different folder. So that is one of the things that I wanted to show, which Anand had touched upon. So that is one thing. And the other thing that I wanted to show was, as Dilip showed you the home page, which was good. So there are some changes in terms of assets and where you find your new asset types, right? So if you go back to our current ICS, you have all the tasks in the task wizard, and you go to the mappings, it's under design, and configure has a lot of other things like the saved queries, hierarchical schemas, and you use, right? So in the new world of IICS, there is one place where you can create everything. None of these has changed in terms of functionality or any other support. So you have the mapping tasks, you have the synchronization, replication, power center tasks, mass ingestion tasks, and mappings. So you can create a mapping. Additionally, what we have done is to be able to give you some out-of-the-box templates, which you can use to actually, speeden and fasten your development. Let's say you have already a template and it just opens up. And this is the new mapping designer canvas. As you can see, you have all the set of transformations, the usual actions that you will be able to perform, the parameterization, validation, and everything is there. We have added a few enhancements of copy paste, supporting keyboard shortcuts and things like that. But these are the same things. And when you come to mappings, and components is the other place where you will find some of the things that you find today in ICS in the configure menu, like saved queries, maplets. So those will be found in components. So this is a single place where you can create all your asset types. So that was one thing which I wanted to show while we were talking about what is changing in your between ICS and IICS orgs. And as you can see, this is the Explore page, and now I'm viewing it through the project view. So you can click on asset types here, and you can choose to view only the certain type of assets. If you just wanted to see mappings, this will show mappings across all your projects and folders. So that was the other part. And another thing is, I did have a question on the WebEx was, can you open in multiple browsers? Yes, you can open these in different browsers, like tabs. So each service can be opened in a separate tab, administer data integration kind of service. And within the data integration service itself, I can open multiple mappings in different tabs like this. That was a question I had in the chat. So another quick change that I would like to point out while I'm here is when you run these mappings, today you are taken to the activity log monitor when the job is running, and then you go to the activity log to see once the job is complete. So that we have made it seamless, where you go to My Jobs. The My Jobs page is a single page where once you run the job, you will be able to see it here. And if you just rerun it from here, and I should be able to see the job running here, it's giving multiple stages wherein it is starting, queuing, and stuff. And once it is done, you will be able to see the same thing in the same page here. And you will also get notifications once your job is complete, like this. You also have the monitor view, which will show the jobs of all users. So the My Jobs is catered to the particular user who is logged in. And in here, you will see the jobs that are fired through REST APIs, so things that are on schedule, things that have been fired by REST APIs, other users, everything will be seen in the My Jobs, in the monitor space here as well. Okay. I know I'm going a little bit too fast, but we are out of time, so that's the reason I'm trying to cover a lot of stuff. So this was some of the changes that I wanted to cover, and let's move on to what is new in cloud data integration, right? So a couple of things that we wanted to touch up on what is new is one was the file-based mass ingestion. So if you were to move files at large, let's say you're building up a new data lake or something at, especially on a cloud store like S3 or Azure, now we have come up with a very simple wizard that lets you do it. So you can move files from your local storage to S3 or Azure, and this can be run on a schedule. You can choose to pick up you can choose what you want to do with those files once you have it. So things like maybe this, and let's say, yeah. And so you pick a new connection, and once you pick the source connection, you get an options. And this is very performant because we use a lot of the provider techniques. Like if you had picked an S3, you will have multi-part upload options that you can choose. We support a lot of encryption that we do, so that way the files are not opened and they're transferred faster. So this was the other thing that I wanted to show. And there were also a question about the Power Center workflow-like capabilities. So that is called the Taskflows. So a couple of things that I would like to cover in here is today's ICS Taskflows that you see here, they are called linear Taskflows. So all of them will be migrated as it is in the set of linear Taskflows. And the new Taskflows is what we call as Taskflow. And this, as you can see, is the workflow-like capability that you have in Power Center, which a lot of these options, like you can build a data task, you can run them in parallel, you can do a jump to a different data task, there is a decision task that you can use. So for the sake of time, let me just open up something that I've already built. So if you look at this one, as you can see, I'm running tasks in parallel, and I can make a decision based on the task status or something, and then I can choose to do different things. I can do a wait, I can do a jump. So this is the task flow canvas. And the task flow, the other neat thing is the task flow also lets you do a very detailed analysis of, you can see each task on what is the status of the task and how it has done. So, you can see the tick where it is, which is the path that the task flow has taken, and by clicking here, you will be able to open up whatever the asset was and see what happened to the asset. So, this makes it the debugging a lot more easier and more visual cues on what needs to be done, a very granular debugging capability that we have brought in. So these were you get to see a detailed view of the current tasks. So this was some of the other things that I wanted to cover. And one of the things that we earlier missed out was the import-export. So if you go to the project, so today in ICS, what you see here as migrate objects, that has been moved to import and export. So at the project level, you see an import option. So if you click on import, you can choose any file that you have exported out earlier from a previous, from any of your IICS orgs. So you can create an import job where once you pick an asset, we will pick the dependencies automatically. So anything that's dependent on that particular asset, we will be able to identify it, and all of them will be put together as one zip file. You can test the import, and you can also do an import. So when you do an import, there will be options where you can choose whether you want to do name resolution, conflict resolution, and stuff. And once you are done, you will be able to see the results of what your import and export jobs in your monitor page as in here. That will give you a detailed list of how the import was, or whether you override the existing object, or there was an option where I could have changed that. So these are things that are available, and this is equivalent to your migrate objects that you would have done. And it is a little bit more flexible in terms of the naming conventions and the override capabilities that you will get. So I think that was the one that I wanted to show. And the other thing is you will see bundles. There were some minor changes to where bundles appear, and there are more flexibility that you can add mappings and mapping tasks to the bundles now. And so this was all ICS, right? So ICS coming on board becomes, the cloud data integration. So if you are an ICRT customer, what you would end up is with the cloud application integration, and that's where you will go ahead and design your processes. And it will be the same. It's just that we will have the same Explore. You will have the same way to design a new dialog where you will have processes, connections, and service connectors, and so forth. So this is the unified user experience that Dilip touched upon earlier as well. And things are the same. It's just that we'll have more extended functionality towards where we are. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover. I just jumped right into the demo and I wasn't going over the slides. So this is what we have. So I spoke about the task flows. We covered the mass ingestion and the new things and a couple of other changes that we have gone through in this one. So let me know, let me go back to the chat questions and see. We have a couple of more minutes and we will try to answer a few more chat questions that we have in here if any of them are unanswered. And thanks again for joining today, everyone. I hope the session was useful, and please feel free to check out the migration FAQ that we have. That has a lot more questions, and it's a live document. As we get more questions from our customers, we keep adding it to the same FAQ, and that's updated very frequently. It's available on our network, so please do take a look at the migration FAQ.